fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, we don't have to fight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just Chill with Oliver George. This is episode number 89, and I could not be more excited about my guest this time around. He is a JUNO Award-winning comedian, as well as someone whose acting career is very justly on a meteoric rise at the moment. But before we get into it, as always, I want to remind you, if you're watching on YouTube right now and you would prefer audio only for whatever reason, you can get that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and other places like that. If you were listening on one of those platforms, though, and you didn't even realize that there was a visual side to this show, I implore you to please come check it out here on YouTube. If you come over to this side of things, I would really appreciate it if you would consider hitting that subscribe button. Obviously, you do not have to, but it really helps me out, and I love connecting with new people. So if this is your first time stopping by, or you've been a supporter for a long time, either way, it really means a lot to me. So thank you so much. If you wanted to reach out to me, maybe with a cool guest idea or some general feedback about this program, you can do so on social media or simply send me an email at justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. If you do decide to drop me a line, let me know if you have any interest in one of these holofoil stickers with the show's logo on it, and I will send you one free of charge. If you've been thinking about it for a while, now's the time, because I'm running out and we've got 10 episodes left before we'll be at the 100th episode, which we're planning to do live in front of an audience, and I will probably give the rest of them out at that time. So I'll keep you more updated on developments for that as it comes. We're hoping to probably do it at Yuck Yucks, but as I said, keep your ears out and you'll know when I know. Now back to the guest of honor. As I said off the top, an extremely skilled, talented comedian and actor. I'm talking about Dave Merheje. And this was a great conversation. He was originally supposed to stop by in December, but he was only here for a day. His train got delayed. He had a show that night, so we had to postpone it. Thankfully, Zoom came to the rescue once again, and I really did have just such a great time chatting with him. We talked about so many things. We talked about faith. We talked about diets. We talked about hip hop. We got into his new movie, where it's his first feature film leading role opposite Daisy Ridley, called Sometimes I Think About Dying, which just at the time of recording this intro, it just had its premiere at the Sundance Film Festival. So big moves happening for Dave. And we also got into Ramy, which is a phenomenal show. Honestly, if you haven't seen Ramy, pause this episode of this podcast and go watch some Ramy and then come on back, because you will not be disappointed. All in all, just so thankful I had a chance to speak with this man, and go check out what he's done and enjoyed this conversation. Thank you. Thanks, man. And it's really kind of a trip talking to you, because I've been binging Ramy for the last little while. So it's a little bit surreal, honestly.
Oh, wow. Man, thank you. Thank you so much.
I was already a fan of your comedy, but I did want to start with Ramy just because it's so fresh on my brain right now. My soon-to-be wife and I, we've really been deep into it. We got about halfway through season 3, and then for whatever reason, I couldn't find the rest of the episodes on Amazon. Like, I couldn't access them.
Oh, I think someone else had told me the same thing. I don't know why.
As of last night, I was able to find them, though, so I kind of jumped ahead a few because I wanted to see the episode that was where you were the focal point, second opinion doctor. So I'll start off just by asking you, because I know in that show your character Ahmed is a really pious, devout, religious person, but in real life I know you were raised Catholic or Christian. So I'm wondering, where do you fall on the spiritual spectrum? Are you, a believer, so to speak, or?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't, I think sometimes I was talking to somebody a while ago about the institution of religion and how it turns them off. Do you know what I mean? And I always, I grew up, my mom and my dad and my sister are, they're very religious, and we grew up, specifically me and my sister going to church every Sunday in Windsor, where we grew up in Windsor. So I remember vividly waking up, watching actually American Gladiator, right on, while my mom was getting us ready, getting everyone ready, and my dad ironing. They were like ironing his clothes, and it was like very vivid. And we'd go to church, a lot of times I think, because you're a kid, you're just running around. We would be on the steps. My best friend at the time, his parents were in the choir, so they were at the top level, and it just seemed like, not, I don't want to say fun, but you're just going to church because your parents are telling you to go to church. And then I grew up and I read the Bible, and I think it was more for me, it was just me and God. Like, I don't really put the institution in.
Yeah.
For me, and the rule, and I think it gets muddy for me specifically. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I totally agree. When it becomes,
I don't try to, like, it's just really a connection between me and God, like just that straightforward connection. Do you know what I mean? I don't worry.
Yeah.
Institution and all that stuff. I don't really kind of, I don't want to necessarily, I just don't really mess.
It doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah,
I totally get that. Yeah, I do think a spiritual journey should be a personal one. I believe in some sort of something. I don't know what I believe in, to be fair, but I agree with you that larger entity, when it becomes almost like a business or a corporation, and
I think the heaviness of it too, the sin stuff turns people away, it puts this guilty thing, and it's. I don't think it's funny. It's like, sometimes, I mean, if you don't believe in anything, that's you, that's up to you. But it's like, not that I find it funny, maybe. It's like, when someone believes in astrology and then they're like, yeah, but religion's bullshit, bro.
Yeah, religion's bullshit.
Why is mine so bullshit? But then you read into a newspaper.
Yeah, you're going to have a bad Wednesday because you're a Scorpio or whatever.
I don't know, but I am spiritual. Yeah.
I do think that also, especially bringing kids to church and stuff, that's where I find it gets a little complicated, just because, to me, religion should be one of those things like voting. You should have to be like sort of a consenting adult and say, I want to do this. I found this on my own, as opposed to, you're obviously going to want to do what your parents want you to do. And it can be kind of, I don't want to say brainwashing, but you do have this sponge-like brain when you're really young, and you're kind of just going with the flow, and the people you love, you trust them. So I almost feel like, that indoctrination is a little bit scary to me.
Yeah. And I think, like, I've spoken to, like, past partners. I mean, I was in a relationship in a few months ago. Like, I was dating someone. And when we were in that relationship, we spoke about, religion and raising, if we were to have children. And she was Jewish. She is Jewish, and I don't think she vibed with Christianity as much. So it was like, and that's hard. I remember that conversation being tough, because it's like, well, I'm not gonna. Me personally, I just want my kids to find whatever religion they want to find.
Yeah,
that's how I'm going to look at it. And then, but and it's a really valid, like, situation where she was like, well, what if I tell them I don't want them to be Christian or something like that? And it's like, you know what I mean? And it's conflict. I mean, I can see it being very conflicting there. So I think that talk is like so tough when you're trying to raise kids. You know what I mean? Whether, you tell them not to believe in something or to believe in something, it just gets pretty tricky. So
when in reality, I think probably the healthiest way to approach spirituality is forming your own, like, patchwork and taking things from many different religions. And, I think that when you sign up to be on this team or that team, that's just a silly decision,
Big time. Extremely.
And sometimes it's like we were saying, it's not a decision you really get to make. It's one that's sort of forced on you. I had a very interesting childhood in that respect, because I did go to Catholic school until grade 8, but my parents weren't Catholic. They just thought it was the best school in the area. So I was never baptized. I didn't get to eat the bread. I had kind of a black sheep syndrome going on, where I felt like an outcast. And I do still carry some of that Catholic guilt. So it's tricky stuff.
Yeah, it's like I mean, you're not missing nothing. I mean, the bread is pretty, missing anything, but that's rude.
Well, it's not like I thought the bread was going to be delicious, but it was more the social dynamic of not getting to eat the bread,
I remember always being like, as a kid, being like, why is this taste? Yeah.
They can't flavor it or something. Do you actually, because of being on Ramy, do people often assume you're Muslim?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think people like when they latch on to, when they not latch on, but like when you're experiencing TV and a character, it could get like, I've done it. I've watched, like I've watched shows where if I met the person, maybe in my head, I'm not that I believe they're that person, but you're so hyped.
It's hard to disassosiate that.
You're so jacked about it. Like, you're like, oh man, this, like the Punisher is actually the Punisher. So I could see, and I mean, they might not know the workings of TV, right? This is like, they're not in the business. So they might have thought like they just hired somebody who's that, so that you really don't know. So I think a lot of times that happens where they will know. And I think it's because they want to share, they want to connect as well too. So it's pretty interesting, especially if like they see me wasted somewhere.
Yeah, they think you're being a bad Muslim. That's very
drunk at an
haram.
airport or something like that.
So did you learn a lot about Muslim culture through being a part of Ramy? Because I know from watching it, I've learned so much.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, like I said, in Windsor, Ontario, and there was a big population of like Catholic, Christian Lebanese and Muslim Lebanese. So I was around this since I was.
So you already had that exposure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't have full in detail like this, like the last 4 seasons where I was learning a lot more. I didn't have that.
Well, and I just love the dichotomy of the show of trying to balance Ramy's character, trying to balance the religion with also just wanting to be a youth and explore his options and all that. And it made me realize that all religions are so similar because, you know, you're always going to have these extremist, crazy people on one side, and then you're going to have, you know, down to earth people who know how to take the things that make sense and not blow it out of proportion.
Yeah, exactly.
In that episode, Second Opinion Doctor, I'm not going to spoil it for people, but your character expresses how he wants to be a father. And I've heard you speak about how important your mother is to you and how much she grounds you. So I wanted to know, do you see yourself ever being a father? Is that something you hope for in real life?
Yeah, 100%. As I think for the last, like, you know, not a few years, but like, you know, over the years, I've thought about it, and it's something I want to do. You know what I mean? It's like, nice. You know, I almost said, why not? But like,
well, that's almost a healthy attitude, like going into parenting, because you just figure it out as you go. Like I got 3 kids and I'm still figuring it out every day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no handbook or instruction booklet. No. Well, when you did that episode that was focused around your character, is that something that like early on in season 1 that was already explained, like you're going to have your episode, or did that sort of organically develop?
I think around second season or something like that, there was a mention of it. There was, or into that, there was some at some, or after first, I can't remember. There was one time a mention of it. So I think it might have been an organic thing that I didn't really know was being formed. But I remember Ramy saying something about it.
That's honestly one of the coolest parts about the show is that you have episodes where Ramy's not even really featured, or they just jumps around a lot in a really cool way and creates this network of characters that you care about all of them, you know?
Yeah, it's like, that's one of, I mean, that's so one of my favorite parts of it too. It's like you get to explore these characters and it's
everybody gets their time to shine.
Yeah, it's like it's really cool what he did and what he's doing with it in that sense.
Ramy, I have to say though, his character, man, especially as it goes on, he's such a piece of shit. First season, you really like vibe with the guy, and then by second season, you're like, dude, what are you doing? Stop making these decisions.
He's on that fuckboy vibe.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Fucking people's wives and his cousin. And oh, man. Yeah, people got to get into it if they haven't watched it. I keep telling people about just what a radical show it is.
Yeah, it's look, man, you know, obviously I'm on it, but I mean, it's really, really, really interesting thing. And I feel it's you can connect, man. You don't have to be Muslim.
No,
you know,
not at all.
Really connect is it's really about family and relationships and flaws.
Yeah, and trying to find balance.
Yeah, and exploring someone's flaws and because that's what a lot of times it is. Probably in real life, it's like you're not a lot of people aren't even sharing their flaws, to be honest with you, or their vulnerabilities or their insecurities. It's like a thing of like protecting them. Here you get to see a lot of these individuals. Pains, frustrations, and them working through trying to become what they think is the ideal better person or better version of themselves.
Yeah, it feels like a very honest experience.
Yeah.
Are you guys greenlit for season 4, or is that still up in the air?
I don't know. I don't know, kind of thing.
Fingers crossed.
I wouldn't. Not that would be the last in line, but I mean, yeah, that's like the behind the scenes, I guess, for them. They would know.
Yeah, no intel on that yet. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna hope for a 4th. I can only imagine that it's going to get picked up. I mean, it's getting rave reviews and such a talented cast.
You know, it's like interesting as you ask that question about religion and stuff like that. It's like I sit here with you, kind of like conflicted in a sense that because I had done something in August. I had converted, right? But it's like it's something I haven't spoken to my parents about that I can't really. Tell them. And
converted to Muslim? To
to
Islam?
Islam. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And it's something I haven't shared with them. And it's like, I don't know if I can or if I will.
I don't think they'll watch this. So.
No, you'd be surprised.
Oh yeah, I should. Okay.
You'd be surprised. So it's like, but I couldn't sit here with you when you were at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as we were talking about other things, it's like, oh, it didn't feel well in my chest.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If it like finished and I was sitting and I didn't answer the questions properly and stuff like that.
You seem like a very genuine human being, man.
Oh, thank you.
Which I find with a lot of stand-up comics is, it's kind of comes with the territory, I suppose.
I mean, if I remember watching video and specials of Richard Pryor. I just remember and I remember him being so like, I was like a kid almost. I was a teen, but I remember him being so raw, whether it was about him, like he presented himself so raw and honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like a lot definitely. Of like the content about his person, and I don't see it. I could be wrong. I don't really see it as much as a high level, like his even now. Like a lot of it is observation, or like I felt like he said so much about himself.
Yeah.
In his stand up that it was really inspiring and admirable.
Yeah.
And I admired it so much that it's like, it felt so genuine. It's like, wow, this guy's not even hiding anything from us.
Yeah. And to expose yourself like that takes so much courage, really.
Yeah. It's like, and I remember wanting to be like that, not knowing how, but I just remember I was like, I want to be like that. I
feel honestly like maybe you can relate to this. I know you're someone who's dealt with a lot of anxiety, as have I. And I feel like it's just easier to be honest, because if I feel like I'm keeping secrets or telling half truths, I just feel ridden with anxiety.
Yeah, it topples on more. And I think, it's not always easy being honest. It's not always easy being yourself, even in public or around your friends. It could be like, because you're always trying to show the best version of yourself, and you don't want people to not like you for whatever these flaws are. So it's like, it gets scary, but I do agree with you. Like the more I find myself being super honest with myself first, and then with everyone else, is like the anxiety is like lesser.
Yeah. It lifts the weight. Yeah. Because it's true. So many people spend so much time masquerading as a version of themselves. Like you said,
It's tough. It's like, it's like the rejection, it's like you're cultivating, sometimes you don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
And you're still finding who you are along the way. That it's like, I get it. It's like, it's fucking scary. Rejection is scary. It's like super. Yeah.
Well, and then social media implores us to try and put up this poster version of ourselves, whatever we think we're supposed to be. And it's exhausting.
I didn't even grow up with that, right? I like, even when I started comedy, because I've been doing it for so long, that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
At one point, that wasn't even like, as we were doing open mics and doing stand up, there wasn't social media. MySpace showed up, but it wasn't really that heavy. So there was a period where you just got to really like, enjoy. You didn't hear, like, you didn't know what was happening. You were just going out to comedy, and then you knew from the way you collected data was in person. Yeah. Or you heard from people, so-and-so's doing good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You weren't inundated with other people's.
Well, yeah, because feedback can be a powerful tool, but when it's just this barrage of feedback from people you don't even really care about their opinion, and then it's hard to filter out what's good and what's bad, And
it doesn't, I remember doing open mics and somebody at the show might have been like, you suck. And then you just moved on. You went to another venue. It didn't sit in
you can't keep rereading it.
Yeah. You're just like, well, that shit happened. That guy didn't like me, or that girl didn't like me. And you moved on. You did another mic, or I don't know. There was such a, look, social media as well has made a lot of money for people and put people in a better place. So, but I do feel like so lucky to have experienced it in that time. Well, I do. When I like the memory, the memory of it, when I think back about doing comedy in Toronto without no social media, it always brings me, like, I just remember it being like so hype. I was like, oh, what a cool time. We'd have to like look through the magazines that they'd have to see where the rooms are, the listings.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a, Yeah, I vividly have a lot of good memories from there. Some bad ones, obviously, but like just that.
Where does your stand-up career start? Because like when I was looking for footage, the oldest stuff I could find was like 2011, but you must have
Um,
started earlier if you're saying it was
wait,
pre-Facebook and all that.
2000 and wait in college, so maybe like like early 2000s, even before. So
Oh
I'm
wow, okay.
22. So I started in Windsor. So I would Windsor had a yuck, so I would do the open mic they had there and guest spots, and I would go over to Michigan because in Windsor the border's close.
Yeah, yeah.
Do open mics in Michigan and Detroit, and then that's
Cool.
where I started. And then in Toronto, sorry, Toronto is when I really got into it.
Well, and I guess, yeah, it makes sense. I couldn't find any of that because people didn't really film stuff back then as much, you know?
No, I mean, I remember I had a VHS tape that I sent to the Arab Comedy Festival in New York. That's how long ago it was, and
Wow.
we didn't
Okay.
really start recording. Dude, someone pulled out a camera at a mic back then. You'd be like, "The fuck is happening?" You'd be like, it was like, "Is he taping a session?"
Yeah, get a camcorder. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like now. Everyone had like cameras are so like far advanced that it could be you don't even know that there's a camera in the room or something like that. But yeah, back then someone pulled that out. You were like, yo, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently because they've got like Ray-Bans now that have a camera just in the sunglasses.
So
Like
wow.
that's crazy. That's a little bit creepy, honestly.
It is somebody's. I had got sent something like glasses that my sister, I was sent them to my sister's house and I was like, yo, just keep them. I thought they were sunglasses. And I think she's like, no, I think these sunglasses, do they go on the internet or something? I can't remember what she said. It might have been something wild. And I was like, you know
Wow.
what, man, you
Yeah,
just
technology is a trip these days, man.
yeah. I was like, I don't want to deal with that.
I saw when you won the Juno for comedy album, Good Friend Bad Grammar. This was 2019. You mentioned that your dad was a big source of your comedy, which anyone who's seen your comedy, this is true. But I wanted to know, what was he supportive when you first wanted to get into comedy, as well as your mom? Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, my dad still, it's not like, not that it was indifferent. He just didn't really like, he was just like really he was just on board. Like, it's not like he was like, hey man, keep doing this or do this or don't do this. He was just like a fan. Like,
Oh, right on.
yeah, he was just like, oh, you're doing this? This is hilarious. Okay. Like there was never even like a thing of like, yo, keep doing this or do this. He was just there on it.
That's
Like,
great, though. That's kind of what you want, really.
yeah, there was, he'd come to all the shows if he could. So he was in. And then my mom was the same way. She was down. She just was like, can you just get an education? That was her thing. You just graduate from college.
Have a backup. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did that for her. And then I mean, as I was doing it, I did it for me as well at the end because I got an education. But like, they've always been super supportive. The whole family, they come to every show.
I'm trying to remember what you took in college. Was it marketing or something?
I took it advertising first.
Oh, okay.
Because I was waiting for my best friend at the time to come to college. He took a year off high school, and then he took marketing accounting, and I switched to that. And then I graduated, I think 3 years later, maybe.
Those must still be useful skills that you can utilize in this career.
100%. The crazy part about it is like one of my classmates a few years before the pandemic, it submitted me to like the distinctive alumni of St. Clair College, like and I got in with some other students for that year. And then, I became like an alumni, and it's like in the hallway, all our pictures are there.
Oh, right on.
So it's like, I went back to speak to the graduating students. One time I went back to the college to visit, and I'm taking pictures in front of this wall where this picture is. And that's the same hallways we used to walk through and eat lunch and kick it. And then I did not think
awesome.
Like years later that I would be like, because I didn't use my marketing diploma. Technically, I didn't get a job in marketing, but I still used it with stand-up and acting. But it was just trippy. It's like one of my former classmates, he works there in the school, and he sends me a picture. He goes, man, I'm looking at you across the way. Like he's sitting where his desk is. And it's just like a trip, that it started off as something my mom was like, I want you to go to school, to that basically.
There's your mom grounding you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to know when you were doing stand-up, what was the skill you learned from doing stand-up that you felt was very advantageous when you got into acting, something that you transferred from what you learned in stand-up?
Vulnerability.
Okay.
I mean, I was like trying to express myself as much as I could through my stand-up. So then when I got, and I guess, I mean, with acting is like, I trust the director and the scene and the actors. Like and I think, you know, the more I've been honest with myself and vulnerable with myself, the better the acting has been.
That's a great answer. Wow. I wanted to ask you if you, well, first off, you're good friends with Steph Tolev, right? You guys kind of came up together in the comedy scene.
Yeah, I've known Steph for so long. Yeah.
I just want to know if you had a favorite memory with her, because I'm a big fan of hers as well, and she's blowing up huge, as just like you. Her career's just skyrocketing. Like a funny story or something, or
yeah, I mean, this is her making fun of me. I think it was. There's two actually. We were like, we always make fun of it. Is that we went to a Kid Cudi concert once, I think with her sister and another comic, Chris Robinson, years ago. I think at one point we were grinding. I think we were drunk and and then we looked at each other. Or we talked about it like the next day but like every like once in a while we'll bring it up and we're like, what the fuck were we doing? Like
you both didn't realize who you were grinding, or you were
no, we knew, but it was just like at a cut. We were just like
feeling the moment.
Yeah, it was like in the moment. But then there was this was in LA. I was doing like laundry and it was like shirts and sweaters. I don't dry them. I just hang them, but they're wet. And she had come over and I had put like, you know, the shirts on top of each other on a chair, like in the living room. And then she's like in the living room, she's looking, she goes, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, what? She goes, why are you putting the shirts on top of the shirts? They're wet. And I go, I'm drying them. And she's like, it's going to take long. How long have these shirts been out here? I go, 5 days.
Like moldy and shit now, probably.
And she was like so livid. And I think she tells that story to people for sure. She's told it in front of me to people. So, but I mean, there's so many. I mean, I've known her since fucking 2007, maybe. I don't even know when she started sketch.
That's so awesome.
Sketch is a long, long time, man. Like a long, long time.
What would you say to yourself now, if you could go back to talk to younger version of yourself, grinding it out in the comedy scene, and maybe some advice you would give yourself?
Probably to be easy on yourself and not that, and it's not as bad as you think it is. You know how like everything is so heavy. It's the worst. I think it would be talk to yourself better, talk to yourself easier, and don't be hard on yourself with mistakes, you know.
That's good advice.
And just like, and probably have the most fun you could possibly fucking have.
Enjoy it while it's happening.
Yeah. Because it gets like, before it gets all businessy and before it gets all like, you know, yearning, you know what I mean? Where things start to not satisfy you as much as you thought they would. Like, So yeah, I think that's important.
Well, what would young Dave think of your accomplishments now?
I mean, it probably like feel. I mean, he's still doing it. You know, like I remember doing the last two seasons of Mr.D, and I'm good friends with Darren Rose. We started in Toronto together and watching him ascend. And I remember, I think I said to him, I go, yo, isn't this? I was like, yo, this is wild, man. We're still doing this. We used to do like these we used to do his show on Yonge Street, like his like open mic, basically. Well, I mean, it was a book show, but I remember like, yeah, back then we were just like, yo, we're still doing it. We're doing it now. Like we're both like, you know, you've been on this TV show for 8 years or so. I was like, I'm coming, you know, this is great. So I think it's just like the ability that you're still doing it and working and you're with your friends.
Yeah. Soaking it in.
Started with, yeah.
You're actually the second Mr.D cast member that I've had on this show. I had Darren Frost. Oh
yeah. And Jerry D, he hires all the comics, man. And that's one thing I give him, you know, I admire about that is that he hired and booked a lot of comics on that show.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's like, and he's such, and you know, that was the first time I got to do a TV sitcom is because of him. That was just before Ramy. So I always thank him whenever I get a chance, man, because he's he's like true. Yeah, that 2 seasons helped me out a lot. I learned a lot about cameras. I learned a lot about acting. The whole cast was amazing. And I found my love for Halifax. I'd be there every summer. I'd be there the last 2 summers.
Oh,
and it was
cool.
amazing. And I met friends from being out there working. I met the Lebanese community that I didn't know was out there. And then I go now as much as I can, at least once a year, to try to do a show out there. So I thank him.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but amazing things about the East Coast. I've never been personally, but yeah, I remember hearing you talk somewhere about Mr.D and how that experience was really nerve-wracking, being your first television experience. Do you still find that kind of overwhelming anxiety when you're hitting new things like feature films or doing Ramy and stuff like that?
100%. I mean, it's like I've gotten some through therapy, some tools to help ease that anxiety, but it's always like a genuine nerve that you're like excited, but also nervous. I think it's like, if it's in a healthier way, then it could be used in a how do I say? It could be used in a productive manner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, having that skill set is huge. I did want to talk to you about mental health because I saw the Thinking Out Loud segment that you did, and that was vulnerable. Wow. You really laid it all out there. But you mentioned finding a book when you were 38 that was really transformative. And I really wanted to know what the book was because I have so much of my own.
I have it. What's crazy about, that is I would watch the Thinking Out Louds on TikTok. I first saw them on TikTok, and I knew some of the artists that were doing it. They were like, they were from, some of them were from Toronto, and I knew of them. And I was always like, how do I get on? I wanted to get on it in the future. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, how do I get onto this? And I think a year I was watching them, like they would pop up randomly, and I was in Montreal for the festival, and a friend of mine that was like, that I knew that I didn't know did one of them. She's from Montreal because they do them out of Montreal. And she hit me up and she's like, do you want to do one? And I was like, what? I've been watching these, of course. Right. She set me up and we got it and we found a date, and I was very excited. And I was like, and it was a very busy time for Just for Laughs for me. I think I did 29 shows and special was out or coming out. And I was doing promo for that and the festival. And at the time, my girlfriend was with me for the whole month. And we get there, and I had to talk to a friend of mine a couple days before, day before that, and she was going through something or sharing what she was going through, and it was very emotional. And I was also like, I was crying a lot that month. I was crying so much in a sense. And even my girlfriend at the time is like, we just, it got like pretty somber. And I can imagine even probably on her end, we didn't know each other that well. We just started seeing each other in May, and this is July. And it's like a lot of vulnerability, I think, like to express to anybody that you just, you're just trying to build and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was feeling pretty heavy emotional, and I went and did it. It was in a cool venue. And the way they do it is like the camera's on you, and then they don't even really ask you questions. It's more like, how's it going? What's your day like? Like something like that. And you start to go, and I just, it's wet. And I was just like, well, I've admired the people that I watch do these, and I wanted to be as honest as I could, like how I felt they were as honest. And it was very helpful. I would watch it on TikTok and I'd click the link. I'd be like, wow, these people are really exposing themselves and expressing themselves. And it was great. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it helped me get things off my chest. And so when I post them again, that posting them helps me get that continued off my chest. So you don't feel just as alone, right? And then people will share stuff with you sometimes. And I think getting the narrative out there and talking like this, just, even if you're not yourself expressing, just to know that it's all right. Yeah. I think kind of moves everyone in a better direction health-wise. It's like you always hear about, and sometimes you can't save everyone. Obviously, you can't save. Sometimes people's demons are people's demons. But I mean, at least if there's a narrative and it's out there, maybe somebody who's having a hard time getting things out can latch onto this.
Well, you said a lot of really special stuff in that about learning to love yourself and treat yourself with more kindness, which I think is something probably a lot of people can resonate with, just being way too hard on themselves, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you talked about how there's so much I related to. You talked about how you never really feel at ease. And it's just something that happens to me all the time in my life. I'm in a situation where I'm supposed to be relaxing and my brain is just like trying to find something to be upset about or to stew upon, you know? Yeah. So I was happy to hear that you've conquered some of your demons, or it seemed.
Yeah, I mean, like with I wasn't against therapy. I just thought, I didn't grow up in that space. So then I was doing a podcast called The Beautifully Anxious with my co-host Fivos and a real therapist, Bennett. And we stopped recording episodes like a year ago, but we did like a few years, and it was like a great experience. And I wasn't even seeing it. It was about therapy, basically. It was recorded in a therapy office, and I wasn't. The third episode of recording, I wasn't even seeing a therapist. So I'm on this thing talking with everyone, and I was like, whatever, man, I don't need it. And I think something had happened on the podcast where they were like, maybe you should get therapy. And I remember that day after we recorded, or that night, I was like, I should see one. And then Bennett helped. It was his company, he part owns it, and he helped me get in. And then ever since then, that was like maybe 2019 or something, or 18, I've been seeing a therapist. And I would see the therapist every week. And then it went to every other week. And it's benefited me. It's helped me express these things, and it's helped calm the noise in your head, I think. Because you got someone to go to that's not your homie, that's like not, like has no really attachment to you.
Yeah, they're a neutral party. Yeah.
It's kind of like, I was telling someone, it's like punch up for writing. It punches up your brain. Like it just gets some of the stuff that's, you may be having a hard time figuring out, and it makes it clear. So.
Had you tried other things like meditating or medication or anything like that?
I tried medication like when I was really, really young, maybe.
Yeah, it didn't work for me either.
No, I didn't really like it. And I got into like, not like an argument, but like a back and forth with a friend. They're like, well, you're stuck on this one problem. You're going through this one. You try this. I was like, I don't think medication is going to help me. I don't. Like, it just feels like it
What's funny though, I don't know if this applies to you as well, but I was so staunchly against that kind of medication while always self-medicating with like weed and drinking and whatever, psychedelics and shit. So, I was still medicating in a different form, I suppose.
It's like, yeah. And I don't even think that stuff really is helping me.
Yeah. Not when you go.
It's like it numbs me, and it's great. I can get numbed out and then deal with whatever. I deal with the pain a lot less.
Yeah.
Like that.
But it's like just a distraction. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, with the exception of some psychedelics, yeah, I don't know, like if you've had experience in that department with mushrooms and stuff like that, but that's the one where I would say I do sometimes walk away with like a profound reinvigoration and appreciation for just everything,
Yeah, like mushrooms and microdosing, I feel it helps. I see how it helps people.
Yeah. Just sort of rewires your brain a bit.
Yeah. And I've tried, like I've gone to healers.
Oh,
I just haven't meditated because I just, I don't know, man. No, I don't like.
It's hard. It's hard to just sit there and shut your brain off, for sure.
It's hard. I haven't really done it yet. So maybe in the future, but I've done other stuff.
I wanted to talk to you about humor resources with John Doerr. He's hilarious. He was on this show as well, and it was a dream come true to chat with him. But I thought it was very funny because he kind of razzed you about saying man, bro, and dope a lot. And I wanted to know after that, was it something you became like hyper conscious about? Or you just kind of owned it and said like, that's my vibe?
I think I owned it. I mean, I say bro. We say bro, broski, like that's part of like our like, it's not even my lingo. It's like, I mean, in a sense that like I have friends that say it way more than I do. We say bro, like it's just how we talk to each other, especially all my Toronto friends. It's like, it's just the lingo we say. So it's like, I don't think I felt like any type of way about it because that's how we talk. And man, I don't say as, bro is the heaviest. I say bro way too much. So when he did that, I just thought, and I knew, I just thought it was super funny.
Yeah. Well, he cut it together in this compilation that just made it look really bad. Oh, that's hilarious.
And it's like, you gotta I mean, look, over time you have to learn how to poke fun at yourself. And it's not like I was saying them every other sentence, like it's a compilation.
Yeah.
And I completely
You made it look way worse than it actually is.
And it's like, and if it's for the joke and I know it's not malice, it's like, well, it is what it is. We with the bros. That's what I say.
Yeah, well, you guys are probably tight anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm thoroughly always entertained by him. I think that was one of my favorite things I've ever done because I love riffing with him. It's just like, it's beyond like.
I used to be addicted to his show when it was on the Comedy Network when I was in high school or college or whatever.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. It's like he's just, I don't know, man. Everything he does is kind of ill.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. He's honestly, when you see him live too, he's just phenomenal. Like he blows me away. I've seen him, I don't know, 3 or 4 times live, and he's just so John Doerr, like specifically. No one's like him, I want to ask you about the new movie where you're co-starring your lead role opposite freaking Rey from Star Wars, Daisy Ridley. Like that must have been a trip.
I saw your shirt.
Yeah, well, I got to represent. Yeah. So what was that experience like? Just getting to that level of, okay, now I'm in a feature film. I'm leading this thing or co-lead. Was that just surreal?
100%. I think it still is.
And if you can tell me a bit about the film as well, just because it's called Sometimes I Think About Dying, but I don't really know much about the plot. Is it like a romance or a drama?
It's like there's a short that's out there that before the film. It's called Sometimes I Think About Dying. That's where the film came from.
Oh, okay. It's inspired.
I learned after filming.
Interesting.
And that was directed by Stephanie Abel Horowitz, and that was Katie. She was the lead in it. It was in the short, and then they wrote. So the short got shortlisted. No, sorry, the short got into Sundance Shorts back in the day, right? And then then it got shortlisted for an Oscar, and then they turned it into a full-length feature. And Stephanie, Katie, and Kevin wrote the full-length feature together, and that's how it got to the full script. And I wasn't. I mean, look, it was all it came at it. Like it was like super surreal because what had happened was it was like not last summer, the summer before, I was prepping for my special that was shot for Crave at Just for Laughs.
I Love You Habibi.
Yeah. So I kind of was telling my US representation in the morning, I was like, I don't really want to do any kind of like auditions. I want to focus on this unless it's something really cool, man. And that email came, but I didn't understand the lingo for some odd reason. I was actually with my buddy, and who's a big Star Wars. I'd go watch Star Wars with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I showed him the email, he was tripping. We were tripping because it was like more. I think and then the director had written me a letter to express, like, you know what I mean, to talk to me about developing this character who's Robert. And it was like also, even then, I remember not knowing what the fuck was happening, bro. And
it's already getting like really positive feedback, and your performance as well. I've seen really kind things written about that.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like very nervous. I was very scared because Daisy's into Star Wars, man.
She's a Jedi. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it's like very, very, and then people will tell you like, nah, man, just treat her like a normal person. And you're like, yeah, I mean, look, that's in theory that works mentally.
Well, we were talking about that earlier, disassociating someone from the character that you kind of just think of when you see them.
Yeah, and I've never acted in a movie. so I don't have any, like, I have TV, but I mean, even TV, it's a supporting role, not, and I'm not there all the time. So this was going to be like, at least like I was going to be in a majority of it. So yeah. I hired acting coaches. I fucking did a lot of work. And when I got there, I was in Astoria, Oregon is where we shot it. And I was there for maybe 3 weeks. And it was such a, everybody there really, everyone working on the film, really loved the story. And I think that's the same way it worked in Ramy, where everyone loved it, that it created such a great energy because everyone wanted to be there.
Everyone's invested.
Yeah, everyone felt like they were a part of something. I think they felt themselves uniquely special. Like they were like, we're a part of And the cast was amazing. I built a bond with the cast, and Daisy was very giving in the scene as a scene partner, and like very. I learned a lot from her. I learned a lot from all the actors and the director, producers. It was such a I don't know. I'll never forget it. I mean, why would I? Never forget it. And the film is about so Daisy's character Fran. We all work in an office. Somebody had retired, and I come in.
Okay, like, you're the newbie.
I don't know. Am I allowed to say that?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, I can always edit something out.
Yeah. Just I'll redo it. It's a film where it's Fran's character is kind of like to herself. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of like not
she's introverted.
Yeah, not as not that I don't want to say friendly, but like really isn't engaging. And my character comes in and she starts to like my character, and I feel like slowly opens the person up.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's more of like it's like it's I don't think it's like your traditional rom-com.
Okay.
That's a drama, and it's like,
but there's some romance.
But okay. I think in a unique way, and not like how you see the ones like, it's not like
the cliche bullshit. Yeah. It's not. Oh man, I'm even more excited to see now. This is going to premiere at Sundance, right?
It is January 19th is the first time it premieres, I believe at 5:00. You can watch. Are
you going for that?
I am. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations again. That's just phenomenal, man.
Thank you. It was it's like, man, I've always wanted to not end, but like, do stand up to get into acting. It was like it was always a thing since I was younger. So I mean, I couldn't be more blessed for it.
Do you know when the wide release is scheduled for? Or?
I don't think because I think you go there to try to get buyers, I believe.
From what I know. You shop it around a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I will let you go soon. I've probably taken up a lot of your time already, but I got a couple fun questions. Yeah. I know you're a big hip hop head. So yes. I wanted to ask you if you could put on your dream hip hop show with any 3 acts, living or dead, who would they be and why? I know that's probably a tough question.
Tupac for sure.
Yeah, Tupac is solid.
Yeah, Tupac for sure, because he was like, I don't know, man. He did everything, man. Whether it was poetry, acting, but even his rap. Like, there's such an emotion behind how he like.
Yeah.
Even the song "Dear Mama," like you're like, fuck. I gotta call my mom.
There's one of his songs. I can't remember. I always forget what it's called, but it's just like the lyrics get me every time. There's a line about the AK spray where the kids play or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
AK spray so your kids don't grow.
Yeah, he's got some deep lyrics for sure.
It's like very like, I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere Eminem said that the way Tupac knows how to put certain inflections in certain words.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'd say Tupac 100%. Even like 2 of America's Most Wanted, it's Machiavelli, 7-Day Illuminati. You ain't gotta be in jail to be doing time. That's crazy. It's a song. Against All Odds, To Live and Die in LA. That song goes, they don't give a fuck about us. And the one he goes, when it makes it to the suburbs, that's when they give a fuck about. Like, I'd say him. I'd say Drake, because of like, the magnitude and whatever you want to say about, however you want to like. There's going to be people that are going to hate on it or whatever. You cannot deny the fact that he is the longevity that he is and staying number one.
Yeah. He's broken tons of records. He's a powerhouse. 10
plus years. And I don't know any other artist that's done that. Like, I mean, especially in rap, name me another artist that has had a longer run.
Yeah. Well, I still think of him as Jimmy Brooks from Degrassi, if I'm being honest, but
I mean, I never watched it. That's
Oh
why
no, I was a big Degrassi head. So yeah, in my teen years, I was seeing him. He got shot in the back, and then he was the wheelchair kid after that.
Yeah, I never got to go through that. So I was always like, I knew he was on Degrassi, but I never really watched it. I didn't watch it.
It was interesting because towards the end of Degrassi, The Next Generation, they actually started interjecting or introducing, I should say, this rap angle to his character. So he started freestyling and stuff before he ever actually started his music career in a big way. So
I remember that. And then the last one is tough, man, because it's like, shit, because it could go to Biggie. It could go to Kendrick or J. Cole. Like there's like
so many choices, yeah.
Or Eminem. I'd say right now it'd probably be, I mean, if we're saying now, maybe it'd probably be like J. Cole.
Sounds like a solid show.
Yeah, it's like even J. Cole, just the last 2 years, man, Cole's like, so yeah, I would say.
I actually want to do a shout out because I was at Ottawa Comic-Con back in September, and I found an artist there who he takes comic covers and then he reimagines them with hip hop stars. So like, for example, like this is a famous comic cover, the Fantastic Four running from Galactus, right? I bought this shirt because I'm a big Tribe fan, and it's the same thing, but it's like Tribe Called Quest instead, you know?
Oh, wow. Dude, there was shirts I bought like this in New York, actually, like in 2018 or 19.
I wonder if it's the same guy. I don't know.
I don't know.
This guy is Beto Art. I want to give him a shout out. Beto Art. Look him up.
I did. I remember my roommate at the time. I think he bought them too, or I gave him one because I didn't want to wear it anymore. Or so I don't know what happened. Didn't fit me. And then I remember asking him recently about that shirt, and he goes, "Yeah, my girlfriend didn't like it, who I know, and she I think got rid of it." I go, "What the fuck?" So I was like, "What?"
Damn.
Like, you can't get into a relationship.
Make you toss out your favorite.
Austin, you're fucking trying to change your style.
Yeah, that's a bummer. What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
Shit. I mean, I don't know how to swim, but I don't think anyone would be. I don't know if that's a surprising thing.
Well, that's surprising to me. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I go, I can't swim, it causes, especially if you say you can't swim at 42, people like, it's like devastating. Like it starts a conversation. It's not like, oh, maybe you should learn. It's like, why?
People are like,
I remember even
flabbergasted.
Yeah, my ex would try to teach. She was trying to teach me because she was just like, you can't swim. It's like almost like it felt like my parents neglected me. It's like when people talk about it, they're like, you have bad parents, like that kind of vibe. But no, my dad knows how to swim. He's the only one in the family that knows how to swim, I believe.
My dad actually isn't a very good swimmer, so it's kind of the opposite. In my family, the rest of us are pretty good and took lessons and all that, but my dad never did. I think the older you get, like you were saying, it's like no one wants to learn to ride a bike when they're 35. There's this level of embarrassment that's kind of thrown on top, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm in a boat somewhere in the middle of the sea, then shit, why was I even there?
Yeah, you're fucked if you fall over, I guess. Huh? Yeah. This is just a fun question I've been asking people recently. If you can make any pizza with 3 toppings, what are your 3 toppings?
I mean, it's not going to be fun because I became a pescatarian.
I am a pescatarian as well.
Oh, last February. So, yeah. I mean, now I eat cheese, but if I could do it 3 toppings when I was, enjoying myself in my life, it would be pepperoni, bacon, and I would say banana peppers. I might have tossed in there.
You're almost at like a meat lovers there, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wait, why did you switch to pescatarian? Just like health reasons or something? Because you sound like you're speaking fondly of the meat that you no longer get to.
No, it was like I always thought about what if I just didn't eat meat because I was getting older, and then I remember my cholesterol was getting high, and I was last January, I guess, or around this time, we were filming Ramy, and we were all in New York, and my friend of mine, Andy, who's a producer, she was like, she got virtual tickets to Sundance, so that's why it's pretty trippy because in this year. So she's texted a group of us and she's like, we're going to watch these films. I watched every film with her. that she had the tickets to. So even like other friends of ours were not watching. Me and her watched every single thing together. She's the homie. And we're watching this movie called Fresh. It's on Hulu.
Oh, I've heard of this. Oh, freezing up.
A Christian, or fuck, he plays in the Marvels, Captain America's friend. You'll know Sebastian, not Christian.
Oh, Bucky.
Sebastian.
Yeah.
Bucky.
Yeah.
So they're in this movie called Fresh, where he plays like a serial killer, basically, where he like kills these women and like store like slowly like sells the body parts to, like, on the black market or something like
what,
that.
To cannibals or something?
Yeah, to people. He makes it like it looks like at the end like actual meat, and these rich ass motherfuckers eat it.
And they know it's human meat or no?
I think they know it's because someone
weird.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we're watching it, and I jokingly, I don't know, she goes, "Man, I'm not eating meat," and I go, "Me either." And she's continued to eat meat.
You stuck with it though.
I thought it was a pact we had, and it wasn't. And I tried not eating fish for like 2 weeks or a month, and I was like, "This I can't do." Yeah. So I went to pescatarian since Sundance of last year, basically.
I'm about like, I think 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
But fish, I never even really liked seafood, but I kind of forced myself to eat fish just because it's one of the only ways I can get protein. And, fish is pretty healthy for you, all the fish oils and all that shit. But I could never go vegan, man. I need cheese and yogurt. I like to, there's certain things I don't think I could do that.
You love cheese.
Yeah. I'm saying I couldn't go vegan. No, and eggs. I love eggs so much.
Yeah, dude. I was just as we were talking, I was like, I might go get breakfast. I might go get eggs, right?
Like an omelet or something. Oh yeah. But I don't miss meat at all. And honestly, it was pretty transformative for me health wise, because I think after I quit eating meat, I also started working out and stuff, but I lost like 30 pounds. And I just became like a healthier version of myself. This was in my 20s, but yeah, I don't regret it at all, and I don't miss meat really.
No, I don't think I regret it. It's not as bad as I thought it is. Like, there's times where I look at chicken wings, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
But I do feel lighter. I don't know how to, me.
Yeah, I totally.
And I do feel like, even if I get a fish fillet from McDonald's, I don't feel as like gross after.
Yeah.
And if I have a Big Mac or something, so I feel a lot lighter. And I think I'm losing. I generally is like a scrawny individual anyways, but I feel like it's like my weight is not, doesn't.
It kind of forces you to make healthier decisions because you have less options at your disposal. Like you said, if you go to McDonald's, there's not a lot you can really order other than the egg sandwiches or like the fish, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you just find yourself eating more vegetables and fruit and stuff that you might have neglected otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, one last question for you. This is the one I've been asking everyone. Season 4 is what's the shittiest job you've ever had? Or one you just hated,
I had a telemarketing job that I said I'm going to the bathroom and snuck out the back.
You just never came back.
I never came back. I had a not sightseeing. I had a psychic. I was handing out fucking flyers for a psychic in Toronto, a psychic reading place. And it was raining. It started to rain. And I was like, I ain't going to do this. So I went to a payphone, maybe. I can't remember. It was way back in the day. And then I called them and they're like, what do you mean you're not going to? I'm like, yo, it's raining. And they're like, yeah, so? And I'm like, well, I don't want to be out in the rain. They're like, you have to or something. And then I in my head, I remember kept going, why didn't you tell me it was going to rain? You're a psychic.
Yeah, you should have known.
Like, you should. So it's like those two jobs I remember specifically. And one I liked actually was it was a keg, like it was Mill Street in Toronto.
Okay, brewery, yeah.
To be like a brewer, basically. And I think I got terrified because one of the guys training me was like, one time one of the kegs fell on his foot.
Oh,
and I was like, I can't. Like, I'm very like, I worked at a grocery store when I first moved to Toronto in the meat department. And I told my manager at the time, I go, dude, if I cut myself, I'm quitting. I promise you. And he goes, I think a Portuguese or Italian guy. He goes, bro, it's like, it happens. And he goes, I cut myself a bunch of times. I go, bro, me? Cut myself, I'm out of here. So I think like months later, I slit like there's still like a line, like I cut and I went up to him, I think 2 days later, I go, hey man, I told you.
I'm out.
I cut myself, I'm done. So those ones I didn't hate as much, but you hate them because you're like, not doing the thing you love.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, those two I told you at the beginning, I was like, I fucking can't stand these two.
Well, telemarketing, I'm like, enough said. You don't even need to elaborate.
And I did another job of telemarketing, but my boy was the manager. So I stayed in that one longer.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
That kind of helped. But I mean, even that, man, I was like, I remember being so miserable. I would read, and I was reading the saddest, what's his name? You know, Richard Lewis? Is it Richard Lewis from Curb?
Oh, with the main guy from Curb?
Not Larry and his boy.
Oh, no.
Bro, this is gonna, sorry, I have to, what's it called? It's, you'll know, he's like always in the hospital bed on Curb, or not always.
I have only watched like some episodes of that. I'm not super up to date on that.
Oh.
What's his name? The guy from the Goldbergs? I know he's on that show.
No, here, I don't know if you can see it.
I can't even. No. Oh, yeah. I recognize that guy. I think it is Richard Lewis. Yeah.
It is Richard Lewis, like legendary comedian. Like that was that, and Anxiety and the way he's on stage, and he's like,
he co-starred in John Candy's last movie.
He's
Dragon's
like
East, I think it's called.
Yeah, dude, he's in so he's in Curb, and I believe he is. Yeah, and I remember reading his book about anxiety or depression as I was on my breaks at a telemarketing job, and I was like, yo, I got to get out of here. So.
Yeah, that's some dark shit. Telemarketing, honestly, you're just like harassing people for a living. So it's not a great existence.
So bad. They got to find a different way.
Shit, man. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I wish you all the best with your continued success. Thank you. Sorry it took a bit to do this, but thank you very much. Oh, not even, man. If you're ever in Ottawa, I hope to do it with you in person next time. I will. I'm probably coming back there in April to do the lounge. Let's do it up. So I'll do it up in person, bro. Awesome. Yo, take it easy, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. You too, bro. Peace out.